The Snow Queen. Once upon a time, there were two children named Kai and Gerda. They loved each other like brother and sister, and they were always happy together. But far away, a wicked troll had made a magic mirror. This mirror was evil. It made everything good and beautiful look ugly and bad. One day, the mirror shattered into millions of tiny pieces and scattered across the world. A tiny piece flew into Kai's heart, and another piece got stuck in his eye. From that moment on, Kai began to change. He became cold and unkind. He no longer laughed with Gerda, and sometimes he even said cruel things that made her very sad. Then winter came. One snowy day, Kai went out into the town square to go sledding. As he played in the snow, a large white sleigh suddenly appeared. It was driven by the Snow Queen. She was beautiful, silent, and as cold as ice. The Snow Queen beckoned to Kai, and he climbed into her sleigh. Then she kissed him once. The first kiss made him numb to the cold. She kissed him a second time. The second kiss made him forget Gerda, his home, and everything he had once loved. Then the Snow Queen carried Kai away to her palace of ice in the far north. When Kai did not return, Gerda was heartbroken. She searched everywhere for him. She walked through towns and fields, asking anyone she met if they had seen Kai. Along the way, she met an old woman with a magical garden. She asked the flowers about Kai, but none of them knew where he was. Later, the birds told her to keep going. Then a crow told Gerda about a prince who looked a little like Kai. For a moment, Gerda's heart filled with hope. But when she met the prince, she saw that he was not Kai at all. Still, she did not give up. Soon, Gerda met a wild little robber girl. At first, the robber girl seemed frightening, but in the end, she took pity on Gerda and decided to help her. She gave Gerda a reindeer to ride. The reindeer carried Gerda far across the frozen land, all the way to Lapland. There, Gerda met a wise old woman, who showed her the way to the Snow Queen's palace. At last, Gerda reached the great ice palace. Inside, everything was silent and frozen. And there, in the middle of the palace, sat Kai. He was all alone, pale and cold, trying to spell the word eternity with pieces of ice. Gerda ran to him at once and threw her arms around him. She wept warm tears onto his chest, and those tears melted the tiny piece of mirror hidden in his heart. Kai looked at Gerda, and suddenly he began to cry too. His tears washed the piece of mirror out of his eye. At once, he remembered everything. He remembered Gerda. He remembered their home. And he remembered how much he loved her. Kai and Gerda laughed and cried together with joy. They held hands, and at that very moment, the pieces of ice rose up and arranged themselves into the word eternity. Now Kai was free. Together, Kai and Gerda left the ice palace and began the long journey home. By the time they arrived, winter had passed and warm summer had come again. The roses were blooming in the window box, just as they had before. Kai and Gerda sat together once more, grown up now, yet still children at heart. And far away in the frozen north, the Snow Queen remained in her palace of ice. Kai and Gerda never saw her again.